Today we have a fun hand featuring one of my favorite poker video bloggers, Rampage Poker. He gets in there, he rampages hard, he usually bluffs off his stack. But if you're known for bluffing off your stack on a regular basis, every once in a while you get a hand and you are way more likely to get paid off. Let's take a look at this hand from what is essentially a 100-200 no limit hold'em cash game that took place at Hustler Casino Live. Let's get right to it.
He hasn't been playing poker for a year yet. That's true.
Rampage raises it up with a 9-8 of hearts.
He's up a couple million.
Falls down to Nick in the cutoff, who 3-bets it to $2,000 with ace-king offsuit. Also perfectly fine and standard. It is worth noting, Nick, I think, usually plays on the tight aggressive side, but he does get out of line sometimes, and he actually just ran a big bluff that failed. So let's keep that in mind. There's Wesley. He says, liquidate when he stacks you.
Nitucci has perhaps a bailout hand.
Rampage calls with a 9-8 of hearts, also very, very standard. We'll see the flop playing about 300 big blinds deep.
Big slick in position. Rampage with the suited connector calls. Everything standard so far. Action flop again. Well done, Lauren. Top pair, top kicker against an open-ended straight draw.
On the ace-7-6 board, you have to presume Rampage is going to check with his entire range over Nick, who's probably going to bet pretty frequently with most of his range, and especially with ace-king. So this is definitely a spot where we should expect him to make a medium-ish continuation bet. As you get deeper and deeper and deeper stacked, you typically want to size up your bets just a little bit more because you want to be able to play a big pot with hands that feel like playing a big pot by the river. So I think a medium bet size is good. Let's see what he does. Pot's 4,000.
How fast does Rampage want to play this?
He does go 2,000, which I think is great. With Rampage's open-ended straight draw on this board, I think he doesn't especially want to put in a raise, because if he raises right now, he's going to get re-raised some portion of the time by the nut hands, which is really, really bad for him. And if Nick has a pair of aces, he's obviously just never folding, right? And yeah, you may make a hand like pocket jacks fold or just a hand like king queen fold, but I think you're probably going to be able to win the pot from those hands a decent amount of time anyway, whenever it goes check, check on the turn, and then you bet the river whether you get there or not. So I don't think you need to raise in the spot with the 9-8 of hearts. I'd be more inclined to raise with hands like gut shots that are, they just have a little bit less equity, right? But with an open-ended straight draw, it's really, really bad to check raise and then get re-raised and have to fold out a hand that has a lot of equity.
His name's Rampage. I think that means he wants to play it fast. Just calls.
I like it.
What's that? Yeah, I want it.
Hello.
And there is the binker.
10 on the turn. All right, let's talk about this spot from Nick's point of view. He has top pair, top kicker in a spot where Rampage could easily be sitting here with two pairs, sets, and straights. However, he could also easily have ace queen, ace jack, ace 9, ace 8, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, 10-9. He could have all sorts of hands like that, right? So this is a scenario where if you expect your opponent to only check raise with hands better than ace king, then you definitely should bet your ace king just straight up for value, because there are a lot of hands that can give you action. But if you think your opponent is live to rampage you and put in a check raise with all sorts of bluffs, mainly hands like 8-6 suited or 8-7 suited or pocket 8s, like hands that are probably not good against another bet but still have some equity to draw to a straight, then you have to be a little bit more careful bluffing, because obviously they're going to check raise all the nuts, but they're also going to check raise with a decent number of draws. And, you know, Rampage is known to get after it a little bit. So as your opponent is more loose and aggressive and battly, you should be more inclined to check it back with the ace-king. But I do think this is a spot where, against almost anybody, you can very confidently bet the ace-king just straight up for value, using probably a pretty big size, like 5,000 or 6,000.
The joint. Nick just bluffed it off. He's got top pair, top kicker here.
7,000.
Woo! Bringing the heat, 7,000 with 46,000 behind. All right, so he goes really big. I think this is fine, especially if you think your opponent is going to play very straightforwardly against this. Again, as your opponent starts to raise more and more often in this scenario, you have to be a little less inclined to make the bet to begin with. And the problem, we'll call it a problem, the problem with making a really big bet, like 7,000, is that now if you get raised, your opponent will probably have fewer bluffs. That may not be the case for Rampage. You all seen plenty of Rampage videos on this channel and on his channel. But I think as you start betting really big here, your opponent's going to presume you have a polarized range. Therefore, it starts to become a little bit insane to check raise bluff if they think you have, what, like ace, queen, and better. So you got to be a little bit careful with the big bets because I think it's going to not induce bluffs as often. And also when you bet 7 out of your 53, it starts to look like you're playing for real. So let's see how Rampage responds. I mean, I think I would probably just put in the raise immediately because if you do call, the pot's only going to be, 23,000 with 46,000 in stacks, so you're going to have a tough time getting it in on the river. But if you do put in a check raise here, you'll be able to easily jam river. And the nice thing about Rampage Poker, being him, is that he has an insane image. And if you have an insane image, you're way more likely to get paid off than if you are known to be tight and aggressive. So if you, I'm talking to you here watching this video, if you are known to be tight and aggressive, I think you have to be way more inclined just to call here because you want to do everything you can to make your opponent think you have ace, jack, ace, 9, something like that. But if you're known to run bluffs, you get to also check raise way more often for value because, well, you have a lot of bluffs in your range. Let's see how Rampage responds.
Rampage has the check mark. Out of position. It's time to raise now.
Time to raise now. I agree. You don't want to go too big, but you also don't want to go too small. Some people make the blunder of raising it to like 14,000 here, just putting in a min raise, thinking, all right, I'm going to give him really good odds because I really want to get paid. But when you do that, that often sends off alarm bells in your opponent's head because why would you give them really good odds and position? Well, it's probably because you have the nuts. So you probably want to go a little bit bigger, maybe something like 20,000. I think that's pretty nice, and it sets up an easy river jam. You may want to go more like 18,000 just because stacks are starting to get a little bit short. But you don't want to go too big because then you're going to get a ton of folds. You don't want to go too tiny because then it just like screams string. So you need to go for a middle size.
You've got the image for it. You've got the opponent for it.
How many chocolates do you have? Thanks.
How many chocolates?
Nick is not a weak player at all.
Yum, yum. We love
It's not like folding good hands. And here you might be a little steamed up.
You can fold like that.
After punting off to Westside Wesley last hand.
It is worth noting, commentators keep referring back to the fact that Nick just ran a bluff on the previous hand that did not get through. And if you think your opponent's live to be tilty, you should probably just definitely take the more aggressive line, unless you think they're going to fold all their garbage, right? If you think your opponent is over bluffing because they may be on tilt, then you don't want to raise because you want to keep them with all their bluffs. Like if they're sitting here with king jack, you obviously want them in with king jack, right? But if you think they just have a good hand and they're not folding it, because that's usually what your opponent has when they put in a big turn bet, then definitely raise because tilty people usually don't fold. Now, I don't know anything about Nick's mindset. Maybe he goes on insane tilt, maybe he doesn't, but it's important to assess your particular opponent because, like, if I just bluff off my stack, I don't really care. But if some people bluff off their stacks, they are annoyed and mad and angry, and they're going to try to win their chips back on the very next hand. Again, I don't know what type of player Nick is, but whenever you're playing against your own opponents, you have to assess that type of behavior from them. Rampage giving it some thought.
What size do you go to here?
So is poker easy now or is it difficult? What do you think? Oh, okay. I was just checking in. Very easy. I was just checking in. Very
you know what would look like a bluff?
Very, very easy.
All in.
I was just checking in.
So the turn did bring backdoor spades. Commentators just says maybe he wants to rip it in. I don't hate it, actually. I mean, the thing is, you usually don't want to rip it in with hands like the nuts because you're really not vulnerable to being outdrawn. You'd be more inclined to rip it in with stuff like 2-pair because 2-pair actually is quite vulnerable. Like, say, Rampage had 10-7 suited or something like that. That may be a hand to rip it in. With the nuts, though, you usually want to go for a small size, and you can also go for a small size with some really junky draws, like gut shots, because that way either you have a pretty terrible hand or you have the super nuts, right? So this is a spot where you probably want to be ripping it in with more high equity draws and like flush draws and good straight draws, flush draws with straight draws, and then also with vulnerable 2-pairs. Whereas if you're gonna have a small raise size, it's probably more with nuts and really, really bad draws, like just gut shots or maybe gut shot with a pair.
Just trick Nick into giving you his entire stack.
Nice, easy.
Collect is easy. Poker is easy to like.
Last night is hard.
Last night is really hard.
19K, 20K, something like that.
19,000.
All right, nice size.
This is the other route. Give him a good price.
Now, with Ace King against a weak, tight, straightforward player, fold, move on with your life. Life is easy. The opponent clearly has the nuts. But against Rampage, this is the dicey spot. Now, easy way out of this hand is to just not bet the turn. But once you bet the turn and get raised by an opponent who you think is capable of bluffing with lots of logical bluffs, maybe even some illogical bluffs because he wants to get after it and he wants to rampage you, well, think you're destined to call and pay for all your money for 300 big blinds. Oh no.
Before he knows it, he's going to have 34K left. And the pot's going to be bigger than that.
I have a feeling he's going to give it some thought. Take a sip of your drink. They just started hammering over my head. Perfect timing, everybody.
How do you fold to a young man named Rampage?
You don't.
Especially after you just lost 20K.
Don't worry about that. Previous hand is done.
Nick gonna shove?
Definitely call. Definitely call. Or fold. You definitely don't want to shove here because when you shove, when Rampage has the nuts, he just always gets his money in really good. And when he has a junky draw, he folds, right? So this is a scenario where when you have a hand like Ace King, especially in position, and the draws Rampage is likely to have here are pretty terrible, you should be way more inclined to just call because you really want to keep him in with the terrible draws. And when you shove and he's sitting here with a straight or set or something, you're just dead.
Can he dig deep and make a really good laydown?
Hard to fold a Rampage.
Table is quiet for him. He just calls, and here's the problem. The pot is now 46,000 and change, and Nick's stack is 35K. And that's the kind of card that's going to get you paid, Rampage.
So the commentators here are saying that there's a problem. There's not really a problem. I kind of feel like in Nick's shoes, this is just a... Once you bet the turn, this is just kind of a standard spot to stack off to someone like Rampage. And you got to realize, we're calling here thinking Rampage is bluffing either adequately or over-bluffing. One of the two. And maybe there's some weird world where he gets insane and overvalues like Ace-Queen or something. So I think a lot of people look at this and think, oh man, Nick's about to lose all of his money, which he probably is. But you have to realize that Rampage has some bluffs sometimes. And if you think your opponent drastically overbluffs, either because they always overbluff or because they think you're on tilt and you're going to overfold or whatever, who knows, then this is not bad. This is fine. And sometimes you're going to get stacked, which is unfortunate. I have read all of your comments on YouTube, and I see very often that you all hate getting stacked. But getting stacked is part of the game, even when you're playing 300 big blinds deep, especially if you're in there battling hard like both these players do. Easy all in for Rampage. Don't
Ace
get tricky.
King likes that river card.
This is a good river card, by the way, for Nick, because it takes away some ace-6 suited combinations and some pocket 6 combinations that he was already losing to. It's actually a really bad river for Rampage, because now he sometimes loses to boats, but it doesn't matter. I think this is about where Rampage is going to shove, and Nick has an easier call on this river than he would on a, let's say, a spade, or on a 9 or an 8, or like any other card.
Yes.
In case you had 10-7.
Straight lot good.
Guys, you cannot do that, Wesley.
Yeah, I don't like Wesley talking about this hand.
Wesley's
But
having too
Rome
much
wasn't
fun.
built in a day.
Someone's
Here's
about to get
the all-in.
liquidated. All right, all in from Rampage.
50,000.
Massive pot. 81 and change in there. $35 to win 81.
Plus
And this
your
is the
35.
problem with calling that turn raise and why Rampage's sizing was so great in hindsight.
Already prepared to post.
Prepare the post.
Yeah.
For 12K more,
Like, what else are you gonna add to it?
And essentially got his opponent to commit his whole stack.
That you should tell people that everyone else is donkey, but you're not the only.
No. Everyone else is good.
This kid is really hard to fold to.
I love everyone. Yeah. Everyone's nice.
Is Nick just going to give him all the money?
Yeah, poker is easy. Still.
Call is the only
Poker's
play.
easy still.
Yeah.
You cannot fold here.
I do
Especially
not
with the draws
envy
miss.
Everyone's nice, but
Especially
poker's
when
too easy.
boats go away.
the spot he's in.
Well, sets become less likely, and two pair become less likely. Just gotta call. Sometimes you gotta pay.
Looks like he's going to give him the chips. He's getting a good price.
Best I could have is the same hand, I think. I don't know what to think.
Well, or bluffs, right?
Then again, 35K is a lot.
Perhaps he's saying he's not going to
And
overvalue.
again,
his
Rampage was all in with King Queen offsuit not too long ago, pre-flop for about 50.
Oh, these players love to battle.
This is when poker is hard.
It's not hard. You just call and lose and rebuy.
Nick's thinking, why didn't I just check back that turn?
The one of them should be Rick, right? Yeah.
West.
Yeah.
When I bet,
Throw a West on it. Yeah.
I open myself up to this pain. It's a much better card for Rampage than it is for Nitucci.
West water.
Range versus range.
Does it make you better at poker if you drink it?
Yeah.
That is not true. The six is great for the reason we already discussed. Draws miss and
Yeah, wait, you should just
The
get
hands
you
that
should
beat
get a
him are now
shirt
less
that says
likely.
poker is easy. Right? I'm serious. That's a great
I
shirt.
know it doesn't matter. I just want to see what's in there.
Let's give him a
spread the pot.
$81,060.
Give him a chance to
It's your last 34,750 to call.
How much longer is he
Find
gonna
out
take?
if the kid's making yet another move.
There's just a
Another
few chips in
punt.
there. Not very much.
Or did he just get lucky? Gentle back rub. Quiet table. Stoic opponent. With a
You all ever had-
reputation.
Sorry, guys. I don't.
You're good.
Have you all ever had shaved ice in Kauai? It's good.
For bluffing.
You know what we'll do too? How much do I owe you? Let's. Cause I just want to. How much? 100.
Now you're getting even a better
I don't want
price.
to be broke, you know.
I should learn that.
So usually in a very serious poker game, you probably don't want to be paying for stuff out of your stack in the middle of a hand, but in this casual game, it's probably fine. If Nick loses his hand, Rampage paid for it. Gotta get him a little bit, I guess.
Because last time I already lose. I don't want to play the masseuse. Yeah. Smart.
Slightly better pot odds
Play
now.
the masseuse first. Take loads. Everyone take loads. Poker is easy. Play masseuse first. Before all in.
If you want to find the flaw,
It would be so sick, though, huh? I mean, it just would be so sick. I can't think of anything else but same hand, ace king, ace 10, or somehow.
it was the turn bet.
I suppose Rampage could have improved with 8-6, right? I did mention he could have 8-6 suited. That would have been kind of aggressive to open, kind of aggressive to call a 3-bet, kind of aggressive to check raise a turn, kind of unlikely, but that's one hand that did improve. But again, 6 is just fine.
Oh, I won 70 on Saturday. I mean, I guess I could just give it all back.
Also worth noting is that Rampage blocks ace 10 and ace 7 and ace 6, right? So just a call. Just a call.
When the obvious draw gets there, you don't want to be bet calling with top pair.
Or set it. Maybe you got 10s. The only thing I just can't. I can't put you on a hand, man. Okay, you got it.
Call.
Wow.
What is it?
Straight.
Nick wasn't even factoring in a straight.
That's so sick.
116K pot
So
to the young
Yeah, I didn't even-
superstar poker player and vlogger Rampage.
All right, nice hand, Rampage. Make a good vlog.
Thanks, Nick.
Nice hand, Rampage. Make a good vlog. That's all you can say. That's going to be it for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Man, oh man, it's tough to play whenever you're playing against a Rampager. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out Hustler Casino Live on YouTube. They have amazing, gigantic, high-stakes games. Also, make sure you check out Rampage's video blog at Rampage Poker on YouTube. Also, click the like and subscribe buttons down below. Also, click the notification bell. Good luck in your games. Have fun. And you know, if you normally play weak-type passive poker, get in there and battle a little bit hard. Start rampaging your opponents. You're going to find that initially they fold because they think you have the nuts, but after a while, they start paying you off. And if you keep playing kind of crazy, they're going to really pay you off. And whenever you get the nuts, you are going to get paid maximum. I'll talk to you next time.